Thank you very much for being here. We have a clock, if you will, in our office, which is our internal countdown clock, and the days are disappearing rapidly. Bermuda is facing an opportunity the likes of which probably hasn't been seen for many years, if ever, and we are now less than 4 months away from producing it. From the outset of the creation of Acbda, our instructions from government and indeed from our board were that every effort should be made to be as inclusive as possible, to share the opportunity, to allow, encourage Bermudians to participate wherever they can. I am very pleased with the results to date. There is a wide cross-section of Bermuda that is engaged, involved, and contributing to what will be, we are convinced, an extraordinarily successful event that Bermuda will help to stage in May of June of this year. One of the challenges was to ensure that we defined local opportunities as best we could. That necessitated us working very closely with the America's Cup Event Authority to ensure that they, who are responsible for actual delivery of the events themselves, could define where things were happening, what areas were available, what opportunities would be arising. And so we have been working very solidly with them and consistently with them to start getting a definitive picture. There is an obvious criticism that I've heard of why are we not doing this, why did we not do this earlier? Truth is we did. In many aspects we were ensuring that our procurement policies demanded a wide cross-section of bidding. We were constantly asking for people to express interest in work at, for instance, Dockyard, where the majority, certainly, of the capital work has taken place. And we've been successful in encouraging local entrepreneurs, local companies, to be part of that. But now we move to a new phase, and that is a much wider cross-section of business opportunities that are arising. Again, let me put that in some context. We have been successful because we were able to harness, this is Acbda, an extraordinary group of people. The contract between Bermuda and the ACA, the organizing authority, effectively manifested a number of specific deliveries that Bermuda was responsible for. There were a lot of them. We formed 14, now 15 committees who were charged with delivering a plan to the specifics of those deliverables. We are a long way down the road now in the production of those plans, and in a short time we will coalesce all of the individual plans into a single Bermuda plan. As a result of that, we have got a much clearer picture now of opportunities that are arising. And before Christmas, we realized that now was the time to move forward and start opening up, explaining, defining those responsibilities. We have always, from our origin, wanted to develop this on the basis of partnership. The partnerships with the Bermuda Tourism Authority, with the BEDC, with the Chamber of Commerce and others have been instrumental in what I believe will be the success. There have been many details, and sometimes perhaps we could have been communicating more, but we've always wanted to ensure that we had the correct, accurate figures and information before we broadened it. Now is the time to broaden it. And we were extremely fortunate, after a fair degree of persuasion, I am delighted to announce that our new Local Opportunities Committee has been created, and we have been very fortunate to gather the partners who you're going to be introduced to on that committee. And it is led by a lady I have enormous confidence in, who understands the community, is very clear in the way she explains that opportunity, and has already been very hard at work working with the committees and with our partners to start delivering a plan for rollout of those opportunities. So with that, I would like to introduce you to the new chair of this Local Opportunities Committee, a lady, as I said, who I have enormous confidence in, Denise Riviere.
Good morning. We invited everybody here today to meet some special people, And I would like to say, I think other than one, we're all women. So I'm gonna brag on that for a second. So we're invited here to introduce the Local Business Connect Working Group, which consists of 8 members. Arika Smith is here representing Bermuda Economic Development Corporation, and William Spriggs and Raymond Lambert are the other 2 that are working through the BEDC. Kendary Burgess from Bermuda Chamber of Commerce, of course. Pat Phillip Farron from the Bermuda Tourism Authority. Dana Lee Trott from City of Hamilton. Courtney Trott, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, but he's from the Corporation of St. George. Kristen White from the Hub One Cultural Tourism Group. Joanna Cranfield from WEDCO. And then myself, Denise Riviere from the ACBDA. So this cross-agency approach that we're taking is meant to ensure that all sectors of the community are represented. By working in this collaborative approach, we ensure that local business people have access to the opportunities that are going to come about from the America's Cup being in Bermuda. So we look forward to helping local businesses grow and meet the extra demand of those services that are coming. Businesses will benefit by putting the work into it. A lot of people have heard me say that the success that we're going to achieve economically over the next few months into the event is going to depend very heavily on how much work we put into it. What do we do to create the biggest return on our investment in this experience? So we now have a better handle on what the anticipated needs are, and from not only the visitors, but also just the sheer fact that in addition to the visitors, we're going to have a lot of Bermudians excited in this experience. So it's a combined volume that's going to be created that we have to define the needs for. Just to give you a little snippet, there's going to be probably about 300 plus boats here. And that's something that Bermuda probably hasn't experienced before because, you know, our marine industry is growing. So this has been an opportunity to open our minds up to a marine industry potentially. So just the fact that we have yachts to serve is going to be great because it's going to create a list of needs that we might not have before had to meet. So this will obviously create demand for a lot of services, water and land. And so collectively, our committee and the local businesses in the community are going to work together to make sure those needs are first identified and then are creatively met. So Bermuda's short-term economic success, and when I say short-term, I mean the 5 or 6 weeks that the event is actually going to be taking place, that will depend on how well we predict those needs and exactly how creative are we in actually meeting those needs. So Bermuda hosting the America's Cup, the 35th America's Cup, is really an investment. Everybody hears this number that you know, we spent so much money or we spent this amount of money. It's actually not spending money, it's investing money. And so that's a key word that I would like everybody to constantly hear, is that it's no different than, you know, when we put money into something and we're expecting a return afterwards in our everyday lives. It's the same thing. The country has put an investment in something that we have to help make sure that the return on that investment is as large and as vast as it can be. So our long-term economic success depends on how well we create the vacation experience that results in people coming back to Bermuda again and again. I hear sometimes that people say, hey, that's just 5 or 6 weeks. That's it. That's not going to benefit us. It depends on what we do during those 5 or 6 weeks that's going to dictate whether or not we create a legacy that is going to be the long-term economic impact. So I'm challenging everyone to look at the America's Cup opportunity as a catalyst, because the America's Cup being here is going to help us develop our existing businesses. In some cases, it's going to help us create new businesses. And then it's even going to help us to fine-tune processes and procedures and the way we do things. So the benefit of America's Cup being here is quite vast when you think about all the different pieces. So we, as a collective community, we have to decide how the America's Cup is going to benefit us in June and beyond June. That's going to be up to us. So to date, the America's Cup Village planning process has put forth 4 RFPs. And the entertainment, cleaning companies, and food and beverage vendors have already gone out. They're actually in the selection process now. All those are closed. There is still an RFP out there for security companies, which closes on February 17th. So as those type of needs come forward from the ACEA, we'll continue to bring them to the public. As it relates to the general visitors' needs, that's a much bigger net. That's not just what's happening out at the village in Dockyard. That's what's happening once somebody steps their foot off the plane into Bermuda. That's what happens when somebody steps their foot off a boat into Bermuda. Those are the needs that are really going to require the community to step up and participate in. So in order to share with the community what we believe some of the needs are going to be, and to get their input. This is going to be a collaborative approach. So we want the community's ideas on how exactly are we going to get the best return on our investment. What are your ideas? What are your creative ideas? And that's going to happen in information sessions starting February 23rd. There's going to be 6 sessions. The first one is going to be focused on marine services. And like I said, there's going to be 300, 400, and actually if anybody knows anything about boats in Bermuda, you actually don't know who's coming until they roll up into St. George's and sign up. So we might have 600 boats. So we just don't know. We're estimating that it could be between 300 and 400 boats that come. So marine services is going to be very important. How do we do their laundry? How do we get groceries to them? There's a whole list. That's going to be held Thursday, February 23rd from 6 to 9. The island-wide vending information session is going to be held on February 28th, it's a Tuesday, from 6 to 9. And some of my team members here are directly going to be involved in that. Like Chamber of Commerce, as you know, they do Harbor Nights, so that's going to be an opportunity. The Corporation of Hamilton is doing, City of Hamilton is doing tons of activities that are going to involve vendors. Bermuda Tourism Authority has some activities going on. So within our group, we have all the key people to make sure that those opportunities are spread as much as possible so that we can benefit as many vendors as possible. The third one is land and water transportation, and that is going to be Wednesday, March 1st from 6 to 8:30. That gets into the detail of we're going to have over 300 boats anchored out in Hamilton Harbor. How exactly are we going to get them from their boat to land? So it involves water shuttles. It involves how you're getting people into Dockyard. So that's a vast bit of information. The fourth one is the entertainment information session. That's Thursday, March 2nd from 6 to 8:30. That one's focusing on making sure that the public is aware of the entertainment opportunities there are from the perspective of making sure that what entertainment happening around the island is widespread across the 6 weeks. We don't want everybody doing all their entertainment at the same time. So we want to have a session where we collaborate and say, okay, this is what's going on in the village, so let's make sure we don't conflict with this so that we can do as much as we can for our visitors. All of those sessions are going to be held at St. Paul's AME Hall. The next group that we're going to do really separates the island in east and west, because outside of us knowing specific needs, there's some creativity that could be said to say what's happening in the west to make sure we're bringing people to certain areas, what's happening in the east to make sure we bring people to the east. So on Monday, March 6th, there's going to be the West-focused business opportunity session. And that's going to be located at Willow Bank Hotel and Resort Conference Room from 6 to 8:30. And then on March 7th, which is the Tuesday, the East Business Opportunity Session will happen at World Heritage Center in St. George's. Okay? So any local business owners or individuals that are interested in learning more about these opportunities should attend these sessions. But in the meantime, you are going to hear information. You're going to get more details from some of my team members on what exactly is happening in the community. So it's not like you have to wait until February 23rd to hear more. Those are just the information sessions that we're having to be able to have an open space thinking environment. So, of course, there are needs that fall outside of those categories. There are tons of them. So if your interest lies outside of the categories that I just mentioned for the information sessions, as of Monday, we encourage you to visit acbda.bm, which is the website, and submit your interest or ideas through the Business Connect interest portal. Now let's talk about Business Connect for a second. Business Connect has actually been up and running for a while now, And several businesses and individuals have already submitted queries. Like over the past 2 years, things have been coming into Business Connect. We still have all of that information. So if you've already submitted your information through Business Connect, don't feel as though you have to resubmit. We have a spreadsheet of everybody's information, and we will be reconnecting with all of those individuals as well to make sure you know of the opportunities that are coming up. So additionally, we're going to be producing an America's Cup local business directory. And this will feature interested and qualified businesses for not only boats, but all the needs that are coming on land as well. So you'll get more information about that soon. So we look forward to working with the local businesses and entrepreneurs. And I challenge again for everybody to try to be as creative as you can, because the return on the investment that we get is going to rely on us. So this is our moment. This is going to be our moment to shine. This is going to be our moment to create economic activity so that we benefit. And this is going to be our moment to show the world why Bermuda is the best vacation destination possible. I brag about Bermuda all the time, and that's all we have to do is keep bragging about Bermuda, and we'll be successful. So thank you very much for coming. And I want to thank my team for all the work we're going to be doing. Thank you.
There is, I think, a pertinent point. What we are being challenged to provide is probably the most complicated and sophisticated set of deliverables that this small community has been asked to provide in its history. I don't know in the history of the America's Cup ever that such a small community has been asked to deliver the America's Cup. Not only are we challenged to deliver, we are challenged to deliver with a degree of excellence that will ensure that Bermuda maintains its reputation, exceeds its reputation around the world as a business and tourism jurisdiction. This is challenging. It cannot be business as usual. Many, many people have already stepped up to the plate. Many more have to do it. We simply cannot do it, however, necessarily the way we've always done it. We've got to rise to the challenge. With that, anybody have any Q&As?
Beyond the America's Cup for the businesses and Bermuda public.
Okay. The great thing about the group that's being put together is they're existing agencies. They're agencies that are out there doing the work already. So although I get to go off in the sunset, my team members have to continue because that's what they do every day. So what happens beyond the America's Cup is I'm sure there will be encouragement to say, what is the legacy from America's Cup? How are we going to make sure that this continues? But even in the conversations we've had, we've said what happens beyond June. So for example, Erika is going to be really busy at the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation because there are some people who are actually creating and coming up with new ideas as a result of this. Marine industry is a perfect example. This hopefully is going to jumpstart our marine industry. So it won't surprise me that she won't get some people who come and say, I want to do this in this industry. So I think if we do it right, if we really do look at this as an opportunity to grow and an opportunity to figure out, you know, what is it in us for beyond June, everybody here will be busy because it's going to create the traffic, plus it's going to create the boost in the business side. So I think it's going to go way beyond June because that's what these all do every day. So that's not going to stop. Unless we all leave and what we say, we're moving to Greece or something like that after this is done. But if we don't do that, it'll continue.
What do you think is the biggest mistake we could make as a community with regards to the America's Cup right now?
Good question. I think the biggest mistake that we could make is to not show up and show out in June. I think that if there's a lot of opinions out there right now about the America's Cup, but at the end of the day, we've gotten the opportunity to do what we do, to shine. And if the community decides that they're not going to be engaged or there's nothing in it for me, and we step back and there's all these people on the island and we don't have the services for them, we don't have the experiences for them, people are not going to enjoy themselves, that's the worst thing that we can do. But one of the things I know is that Bermudians, we by nature, are individuals that create success. So I'm not really worried about it not happening. We're just going to do our part to make sure that we're the cheerleaders for the business world, the local business world, to make sure that they have the support they need in order to make it happen.
I think the other thing, just to add to that, is you know, we have a risk register that we are working with. It is a long register. of all things that could go wrong. We spend lots of time asking ourselves, what if? What could go wrong? The biggest, to answer your question directly, I think the biggest challenge is not preparing, not having a plan that covers all the bases that we have tested, pushed back against. We've been through live training exercises, or not live, we've been through training exercises. We have more training exercises coming up. Complacency and underestimating what we have to do.
I think operationally there's been a lot of great preparation. I think that they're going to practice and say, what happens if, something happens, the buses break down, what happens? They've gone through that process. But as far as the community is concerned, for us, it's going to just be show up and show out like we know how to do.
What is the fear that keeps you up at night with regards to the America's Cup? What is your...
I was just thinking, I get that asked question all the time. It depends on the night. Most nights I'm awake thinking about it. Our team is awake thinking about it. I think the biggest concern is that we don't do what Denise said. We don't stand up to the plate and deliver. That we have failed a plan, or we've missed something, or we do something that gets it wrong. The opportunity of a spotlight is always a double-edged sword. The spotlight of the world is on Bermuda. They are watching, the world is watching. I think it's up to 1 billion people will be watching the America's Cup. Yep. It's 1 billion, 2 billion eyeballs watching Bermuda. If we excel, if we exceed, if we produce, which we will, this extraordinary event with excellence, we will have created a brand, a rebrand, an image that no amount of advertising could have paid for. But the opposite is also a potential. You can go back to world events or world sporting events and see where they got it wrong, and how the world loved to talk about the negative. And we all worldwide are focused to an extent on the negative. We can't allow those negatives to exist. So every night I'm going through, okay, what ifs?
And there's even preparation. I mean, there's a meeting we have that the topic is what keeps you up at night. So even we're preparing through that. So I have to say I'm impressed with the team, and I think that the strategy is in place. So we just have to make sure that everybody who's outside of the room of the planning gets on board, which is what we're all here to do.